Feels like their composition is going to have to either play from ahead or they're going to have to pivot into something that could play for sides. But no, we're going to get the game plan that you talked about.
Yeah, and the only worry I have here is they can pick something with more mobile, right? If you picked Azir here on 4 and they went Victor Lulu, then GP gets more value. But now they have an Azir with a dash who can actually reposition in the GP ult, so it just makes it a little bit more of a sting, right? Aphelios Thresh is something we've been seeing in Champions Queue, especially range support's normally the kind of things that are good into Pumpkin.
And of course, Thresh naturally balancing out some of the weaknesses that Aphelios has as an immobile AD carry, especially against a champion like Gangplank. We know Gangplank is a nightmare for any AD carry without a dash. That said, really one big single target engage outside of the Thresh, outside of the Viego W. That's the Sejuani, which as we get later and later into the game is going to be less and less relevant against a champion like Tahm Kench.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. There's the mobility from the GP4 pick just to deny that global. And now the question is, does Jojo have a strong enough counter to merit that pick? There's the Azir Victor, right? So if that's the control mage mid lane matchup that comes out, could have been something you got more value from, but still, regardless, EG's comp, really strong. A lot of AoE zone control, so many things that JDG have to be careful for. If you're walking up as an Aphelios into a GP ult, into a Victor ult, there's so much damage control that they have. JDG a little bit more single target damage focused in terms of engage, right? Sejuani ult hits into a hook. Need to be very careful. The carries of EG, the Tahm Kench really will help with that.
I feel like that's the big difference to me though, is like, for AG, they want JDG to be walking into them, right? They still don't really have a great way of starting fights for themselves. Like, sure, carry can go for an ultimate, but point and click ability, skill shot ability, and Vulcan as well. Like, you have an engage on the Tahm Kench, but it doesn't feel like enough to where, for JDG, they can start decisive fights whenever they want. Sejuani, Thresh, Azir going in for the shuffle. I like the amount of agency they have, but the damage is at least there for EG.
Absolutely, and we have to see who is able to get set up on the objectives. That's going to be everything, because again, fighting into either of these teams could be a death sentence against Aphelios and Azir. You do not want to be running into them. Same is true of a GP, a Victor, and a Varus. So both sides, to a certain degree, a lot of control over those tight spaces. Early Drake stacking going to be huge.
Definitely is, and this is a comp where EG have a lot of scaling behind them. The only disadvantage on that scaling is the Graves doesn't have much set up to work with. When you think of Graves, things like Leona or an Enchanter mid, something that can actually set the Graves up a tank top so he can follow up. There's not much of it there, but the scaling is very powerful.
Yeah, and for the side of JDG, scaling's there, but we're gonna have to see what the top side's able to do. We've talked about, for them, it's been all about 369 and Kanavi, and it feels like, especially for 369, gonna be playing more of a facilitating role. So for EG, their standout carries have been mid-jungle, and it feels like both of them are set up for success.
Certainly is the case. Eyes really uninspired to see the kind of impact that he can have here. Graves, not the flashiest early game champion. He is often the catalyst for action for Evil Geniuses. See if that's the case this time around. Might have an explosive level 1 on our hands as JDG stack up on the bottom side.
It could be a level 1 fight. Yagao is marking and baiting a little bit here. Vulcan's probably saying, I can knock this. If the Inspired dashes over this wall, he's in trouble. He needs to be really careful.
Hook gonna connect over the top. Catch, they read him like a book. Vulcan running for his life, but an easy first blood for JDG.
And that's all scouting, that's all tendencies. EG wanted to get a ward level 1 to track the Viego pathing, and JDG just read them like a book. It was either Inspired dashing over who would fall, or the hook hitting Vulcan over the wall without vision. You can't really blame Vulcan for that, right? He sees an Azir, he's marking him, walking up a little bit, hook out of nowhere, he gets taken down.
And I love that you bring up that scouting, right? Because especially in group stage format where it's best of ones, getting a level 1 advantage is one of the best ways to try to find the wins, get yourself on the board, and make your way through group stage.
Definitely is, and now this Viego's got a longsword. Feels really good as a jungler to have this item because your clear is just innately faster with the AD, right? Sejuani also has an incredible leash. Impact here is just going to spot them out, give information to Inspire and say, hey, they're starting top side. And Inspired will be starting the bot side of the map. Mismatch of junglers. Kanavi's clear just sped up a lot since that first blood.
Excellent start so far. See what Inspired can get back on the opposite side, see what the options are, what they can do with that jungle information that they do have. Open missing early on. With the range advantage they have, should be able to poke a lot, but of course, Tahm Kench a very difficult champion to get out of lane, and especially past the first level. Now the exhaust coming down, hold that thought. Hope backing up, so much damage coming out from this Varus. 3 stacks is, oh my god! The 2v2 versus the LPL.
The EG bot lane just 2v2 killed the first seed LPL's bot lane. Aphelios Thresh, they had counter-pick support, they had counter-pick AD, EG, NA's here to play.
And we need to remember that this is with Cowrie coming in right before the LCS finals, not too much time with him, but EG's bot lane are still making it work.
Fantastic turn. Exactly the thing that they needed after that first blood, after that untimely level 1. Kanavi still clearing quickly, but You can hear New York come alive for EG.
The crowd is rallied behind them, and good presence of mind here from Vulcan to just stay like, this AD carry is disrespecting us. He should not be walking past the wave and hitting us. Drops the exhaust instantly, cause Kaori to just start hitting. They managed to chase down, and they managed to get the kill.
And you gotta say overconfidence from Hope. You literally don't have abilities as a Felios on level 1. You wait till level 2, very strong in some of those trades, but stepping too far forward against a powerhouse like Varus, not respecting the exhaust coming out there from Vulcan.
And it even set up for Inspired, right? We saw him at the same time was able to make his way into Kanavi's jungle. He stole away the red buff. Now doesn't really have to give as much attention down towards the bottom half of the map. I mean, heck, Kaori still has summoners up and can now start making his way towards the top side.
Can indeed, and let's just note the Graves items. Had the health potion, he started a pink ward, he placed it on the entrance red of JDG side. You can see on the minimap there, Kanavi's just cleared it out. We'll move towards that bot side. Crab, Impact, getting some trades onto 369. Has the Ignite, a lot of kill pressure, but mana quite low for a full combo. Waves slow pushing into him, so game quiets down a little bit more here as Inspire tries to catch up on the farm. Match the Crab, still got his red buff to take away, of course, because he took away Kanavi's, and now it's Kanavi looking for a little bit of information of his own.
And now I'm really curious to see what JDG elect to do here, because coming into this matchup, I kind of expected JDG to be the faster-paced team and EG maybe trying to survive the early game, get to a mid-game setup, but EG with the lead, and oh, wait.
Backstun coming out, immediately uses the oranges, it'll be just fine. Bot lane though, pressure's still up. Open missing, still keeping the wave prio there on the bottom side.
So what 369 did there, I think, is he all-in impact to pull the wave, so he didn't actually crash into tower, so he could hold it and force his TP back. Maybe could have got his flash there, but good W from Impact to get away. TP back from Jojo. Lane's pretty stable across the board, but JDG starting to get pushed on this bot side, and 369 will start to slow stack a little bit.
Yeah. And of course, difficult for Kaori and Vulcan to really trade back, especially when Aphelios has the early range advantage. When the Caliber finally fades away, it does get a little bit easier. It's really focused from the junglers. Again, we expected this to be a lot about the junglers. The level 1, of course, a little bit about them, but so far the bot lane really the only source of action across the map as we see another hook going in. See what the next point of focus is for either side.
I will say, I kind of expect JDG to head down towards the bot side since EG was able to blow those summoners. Like, sure, Missing has the Lantern, but anytime Inspired or once Impact hits that 6, it just feels like there's going to be a lot of threat on this, and for JDG, it's going to be all about covering Hope and Missing and making sure no more shenanigans go on.
Confidence as they step forward here. Missing even with a level advantage, they are not concerned. Walking forward, zoning them off, keeping the wave frozen. Not a bad position to be.
Definitely full of confidence, EG bot lane. That kill, of course, in the 2v2 will just fuel them with so much of it to actually know that when JDG's disrespecting, they will walk up. When their jungler is spacing and coming towards bot side and they have the numbers advantage, they will walk up. The question is, can they transition into anything? Drake's up. They're going to push this bot wave in. You have to imagine on a stack, crash it, either take a base and look for that early dragon. Still a few minutes away from this Herald.
I think the thing we have to remember, something that you highlighted in Champions Select Lyric, is that, again, JDG are the ones with agency. They're the ones with the Sejuani on the top side, the Viego in the jungle, a lot of potential setup as we get later in the game. So really tracking what they're going to do. It's Missing now. Hex flashing over the wall, looking to get sort of play on a Jojo will be spotted out. Ward's now getting cleared away. But JDG are the ones we're watching. EG don't have that reliable engaged CC outside of the Varus in the bottom side, so now we can see them trying to get first prio on its objective.
Yeah, stack the wave bot and go for a Drake. It's a really good early play because you have the bot lead and Aphelios has to catch right. You have good trades in mid. Look at Yagal's HP bar. Jojo Pyun just poking him out with the E there. Kanavi's around and Missing's around to try to get this mid wave in, try to escort him towards this Dragon Pit so they can contest, but by the time they get in here, it's gone. 2v2 bots for EG, Dragon for EG. It's looking good for them so far.
Yeah, EG so far. I mean, reading JDG like a book, honestly. Like, great 2v2 kill on bot lane has kind of set up all of this through.
Can they get anything else out? Burning things off a little bit early there. Snare follow-up can go into Kaori. Hope's not going to opt to activate it, however. They'll just focus on clearing the wave instead.
I will say, though, both junglers have been pretty proactive and peeking in the enemy jungle, trying to get that information. We even just saw Kanavi
coming down. GP ult going through. Ignite taking Vulcan now in trouble. White Guns coming out. This is not the fight they were looking for. All those spells burn, but still it's JDG who find the kill. Wave now collapsing. Fresh trying to back. They have to hold on here. Inspired flashing forward. Auto attacks coming in. Missing still hits the hook. Red, white, but can they fight? That is the question, Kaori. Still standing strong. Hope getting the snipe. He gets the double.
Things work out the end for EG. You can understand what they were going for. Cannon Barrage was up. They were stacking the wave. Inspired was there. There might have been a little hiccup, but still coming out with 2 more kills.
Here comes the cross map from JDG. Kanavi saying maybe let's try to look for a top dive. If they pull it off, it'll even out the map state a little bit, but we'll see if Impact can make the outplay happen. Yagal's on the way and Jojo doesn't have TP. Look at Vulcan though, from base, running up here, reads the play. Level 5 though, doesn't have the ultimate. No W on Kanavi. I don't know if they can pull this off.
That he doesn't have it. Impact waiting in the area. Not even going to be able to finish that play. The play will fall in the the end, but that's all that JDG are going to get in response. EG pulling ahead in the gold.
Great play there by Vulcan, really good presence of mind to just cover the cross map. And it's Kaori on this Varus 3-0 right now. Jojo.
Flash in. Jojo, I don't think he's ready for this one. Play backwards, gonna look for the hook, but he gets stunned first. Jojo, where's he gonna go? Clean flash out, put a flash back from Yagao, and that's gonna be the kill in the mid lane.
Not much Jojo can do there. There's no real outplay. If Yagao just flashes his flash, he'll always get knocked back. So good play there by JDG to punish him. They've been looking mid quite a lot. That's the third, fourth time they've been looking for Jojo or a push out. Vulcan still on this top side though. Herald started up, inspired bot side. He's ganking the Sejuani. He's ganking 369. No flash.
Guiding it in. The Herald. Really the thing that we have to keep our eye on here. If he's able to go undetected. Huge local gold advantage, huge objective for JDG, especially after losing that first Drake.
Oh.
Ooh, JDG looking to collapse on Inspired. Inspired definitely deep in enemy territory. They're going to know he's there now. Red, white again. Hope walking forward. That's a lot of damage. Hex Flash over the wall. Missing, getting so much value out of Hex Flash. Just a poster child for it. But the Fury firing back. The forest damage is ludicrous, but not enough to finish the job. And there's fights on the top side. Vulcan taken down. Still looking for more. Fishing for more. 369 and Kanavi are monsters.
And JDG trying to play both sides of the map. They're able to get the Herald. They win the fight on top side. But my God, the fact that Inspired was able to make it away on the bot side was insane.
It's absolute mayhem on the map. You see JDG start up the Herald of their jungler, and then they collapse on Inspired on the bot side. That's the part of the map that EG owned, but because Vulcan stayed on the top side for so long that they knew that they had the numbers advantage, so they looked for the kill. And then there was a 2v2 off screen. Looks like Vulcan was walking up to get some information. No flash from earlier, so they just send its full engage onto him. If they get a resell onto Sejuani, actually does have the flash, but they still get the kill with the follow-up from the Viego ult. And then Impact tries to trade back.
And just goes back to what we set up for JDG, right? That the composition does bring a lot more CC. It makes it so easy to look for these turns and get these pickoffs when just one member slightly out of position. And now with Herald, looking at where JDG wants to drop, I think getting plates for Hope would be quite nice, but anytime I see things like Victor, GP, Varus, it just feels so valuable to drop it mid because they have such an insane amount of wave clear. Breaking that without Herald feels like it could be impossible.
Gold lead very even right now. Of course, the Herald will help that out. Kaori sitting quite far ahead of Hope right now, over 1,000 gold up. Jojo is actually up on Yagao as well because of the creep score. Managing to keep that mid push despite losing his flash. It's very risky for the Victor in this matchup after losing flash against Nazir. When his ult's back up, he can't really walk up, so it's difficult for EG to play through mid. They're going to have to play a bit more through their bot lane. EG Impact has the ultimate to help out in the 3v3s.
And really a blow-for-blow game. Ultimately, Kanavi, kind of as expected, center of attention for this team, but on the opposite side, EG surprising as Kaori continuing to have a big impact. Vulcan as well, moving across the map has been huge for the team thus far, but can't afford to let Kanavi get anything else here.
So looks like Kanavi's going to Herald top. I wonder if the communication here from JDG is we can't get bot push, we cannot contest Dragon, we're going to look for top tier 1. And they know that Inspired's on the bot side. Hook almost hits. That would have been certainly a Tom Kench ult used there. And they see Graves bot. Here comes the dive. Impact using the ult on the wave to try to slow it down.
Good heads up play, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Just a little over 3 plates remaining. Whole team now going impact. Clean flash out. Going to try to survive for as long as humanly possible, but he should still fall in the end, or should he? Impact walking away, trying to make it out. There's just no way. Impact, stun coming in, the slow to make sure that it happens. Kanavi grabbing the kill. The tower will fall to the Herald. Kanavi and 369.
Cross map comes in from EG there. I'm a bit surprised that Jojo didn't TP into defend there, but maybe there was a window for JDG to then start contesting this bot side of the map with Yagao being there and Jojo not being there. They decide to avoid it, trade the towers, and get the Dragon.
Yeah, so for EG, I mean, they get the cross map, so still not behind in gold, and they're the ones indexing into the scaling, right? Picking up 2 dragons. They're going to get to a point very soon where JDG are going to have to fight them. We hit for EG, that their composition, GP and Victor especially just love when champions have to walk into them, getting things like the gravity field and the barrels down. So I think EG actually, again, doing an amazing job because they definitely came in as underdogs.
Scoop him up, knock him down. There's no ultimate yet on Kanavi. Yes, there is. Looking to take down Jojo. Jojo cut down, dash out from Inspired, but another clean kill for JDG.
Yeah, they're looking for the proactive plays in mid. The only real control mage with proactivity is Azir when the enemy mid laner has no flash. They didn't have vision on Inspired, so by the time Yagao's already dashing forwards, he sees him the second he arrives. So it's a 1-for-1. Good play there by EG to make sure that Graves is behind mid, covering Jojo and doesn't have the flash. Still though, Kanavi 4-0 on this Viego.
I mean, yeah, just looking at his items, Divine Sunder already picked up. We have Frozen Heart as well there for 369. We've been hitting on Cowrie being the win condition for EG. Immortal Shield Bow are in pocket. Feels like he's really the one that EG are looking towards. But Keijo, you already set it up. No flash on the Victor. You can see Yagao just going in for a bit of the swoop and boop. They are able to trade him back with Inspired, though.
Definitely are, and that's just how jungle works. When your control mage has no flash, you always have to make sure every wave or so you're covering around, making sure you're doing jungle camps around mid to make sure if an all-in happens, you're there for the 2v2. In that case, he was. I think what EG are focusing on this game, obviously, is Dragons. They're just making sure their bot lane has constant bot push, vision bot side. They're not even moving the bot lane around the map to try and take top tier 1, contest Heralds. Their eyes are laser focused on this Dragon. I think the issue EG have is, how do you get Victor out of mid? Do you really want to put the Varus Tahm Kench mid and then Victor on a side lane? Sounds a little bit dangerous, so they're just keeping bot push into mid.
I think this is why second Herald is also going to be so incredibly crucial. Again, we've highlighted the draft, we'll continue to highlight it. EG, if you were fighting into them, you are probably losing that fight. And while Kanavi is strong, they're able to mark him in these fights. If he's coming in straight on into a GP, into a Varus, it does not matter how fed you are doing nothing in that exchange.
Yeah, and I kind of want to see JDG take advantage of that by starting to move 369 out of the top lane. They used Herald to break it open very early on. You know, he shouldn't have too much pressure. You can look for dives, but EG going for a play bot.
Cardigan's missing. Now the response on the top side, JDG getting the impact ult out pretty early here, but it will clear the wave. Now continuing to fish for a bit more. Ulti going in, but they're not going to get anything back in exchange.
This is the issue EG have. They can't put their bot lane mid because then Victor's vulnerable. And if their bot lane's not mid, they can't control the map, so they have to keep cross-mapping and trading. We'll see if they can find someone on this bot side. A lot of damage onto Hope, but he's going to escape the Varus ult, and now this top tier 2 is gone. EG need to get this bot tower, but Yagao's on the way.
Trading back and forth. Yeah, is the crown ready? Is he going to try to scoop? There's a lot of health left on that tower. Inspired just really trying to get as much damage down as he can. Both sides going to back away here. JDG still ahead in the tower trade overall, but EG still with 3 members in the area. Can look to finish this one off, especially now as Jojo Puna's collapsing.
They're sticking around, but the Varus has no mana, so I think they just have to back away here, especially with 369, like you said, collapsing down towards bot side through mid. Impact's been really struggling this game. He's not really had a lot of attention from his team. Jojo's TPs have always gone towards mid. Inspired has basically dropped top lanes from level 1 when he went to the enemy red buff. It was all about bot lane focus. It's only really Vulcan that tried to help out and cover, but still so much dive pressure with the Sejuani Viego. Kaori gets caught here on the base timer, but Yagao is not going to look for the all-in.
And it's such a game, just little differences. You see the top tier tower break first in favor of JDG. It means they get to move to Herald first. It means they get this Herald. It means 369 is able to roam into mid. He's able to stop that. And just being a little bit ahead here in all of these plays is continuing to add up more and more in favor of JDG. Yes, EG have 2 Drakes. Yes, if they get 3, they'll eventually be able to force a fight. But JDG building a pretty significant gold lead.
The EG strong side's not working out as well as I think they wanted to. You see here, they just took Herald, JDG, and they're hitting a bot tier 1. They're winning on both sides. Similar to when Vulcan covered top and JDG started Herald, they were losing on the bot side fight as well. So now they're looking for a proactive play. TP behind. Lantern's going to come in. TP match.
Big response, but again, without reliable forms of hard CC to kick these fights off, the TPs aren't nearly as menacing as EG would like them to be. At the end of the day, they still trade 1-for-1 in terms of TPs overall, but I think EG really struggling to find a fight on their footing.
I will say at least they are at 2 Drakes, right? Because if EG can get to that point where they can force JDG to fight into their strong side, then everything's going quite well. But now, I mean, with both turrets broken down top lane, you can see JDG doing a nice job of being like, hey, we can divert more resources, more attention down towards the spot side. That turret already looks like it's going to start going down. And with Dragon coming up in 30 seconds, you'd expect JDG to want to look for a contest.
Definitely. You don't want to let the enemy team be on soul point. The next Drake after that could just be a 50-50 steal, and that's it. Soul for the rest of the game. 20 seconds on the spawn. EG have control over bot wave. JDG are going to Herald mid to try to force them out, flush them out to cover this wave. Will EG walk up? 369 is ready with the ultimate. Herald will crash, the tower won't die. 10 seconds on the Dragon. EG look like they're giving up mid wave. They could lose a tier 2 here, but JDG need to fight this Dragon as well.
Kanavi fishing, 369 fishing, will not find a target. The ult goes a little bit wide, but they're being zoned away from mid. They're giving up their mid lane tower so far for nothing. Just hoping to find a single fight on their turn, but JDG, slow, diligent. They are playing patient into this. Now it's EG who are split. Jojo Pune coming in from the side. Impact zoned away from the fight. Ultimate available. Maybe they can get something done here. 3.5k, getting lower and lower. Hook gonna go in it, connects on the Vulcan, not an ideal target, but now the fight breaks out. It's Impact on the flank. What can he get done? It's a big barrel, but it's not nearly enough. They will take the Dragon, however. Yagao, though, knocking Impact into the rest of the team. But Impact, more than happy to make that work. Evil Genius is finding the angle. They finally find the fight, and they make it work.
It's Soul Point was enough. You force him into all these AoE tools. JoJo doing so much damage. The Cannon Barrage layered on top. And now getting themselves on Soul Point.
This was a 5-4-1, and EG got the Dragon as well. Impact's flank just split JDG up so much, and not having the Sejuani ult means that single target damage engage is gone. The hook hits the top Kench. He flashes away. EG just aced the LPL first seed. They got the objective. They're going to get this mid-tier one, and Impact all of a sudden is back in the game. Keep your eyes on the Impact. Hook hits Vulcan. Impact comes in with the barrels. JoJo doesn't fall to the stun. Hope already has to dash away. Then they try to peel back and reposition here, JDG. But the push from Yagao onto Impact doesn't help. It doesn't do anything because EG just barrel forwards.
Yeah, the damage that Impact did there with the Cannon Barrage, and then that one barrel chain was already too much, that by the time that Yagao found the engage, it really didn't mean anything. So, again, this was a team that fought through planes. This was the team that 3-0'd EU for the first time. It's great to see that EG are still putting up such a fight at Worlds.
And credit to Impact. We talked so much about front to back, about fighting into the GP, but apparently the GP can come in on Fog of War. He's a flanking GP. He makes it work.
And we've gone from a situation where Kaori is the main damage threat to now the GP is extremely strong, building towards the second item of Collector. The Graves is sitting at 2-0 and 3 with lethality items. There's so much threat and a lot of scaling on EG with a lot of wave clear as well. So despite the gold being somewhat even or even a little bit behind, with the 3 Dragons, with the team comp, they're sitting very, very happy in this game.
And it's so important too. The Tahm Kench should save one person, and at this point when you've got so many carry threats scaling up, it doesn't really matter who he saves. Not enough CC really outside of Yagao finding these big flanks to make it a threat, to make it a concern. EG holding strong for now. Yes, JDG holding on to a tiny gold lead, but Soul Point, Ocean Soul, especially for EG, right around the corner.
So I think what we'll see happen now is EG just kind of give jungle vision, right? There's no reason to contest. What's the point in face checking a Sejuani Thresh? You're just going to get hooked and have to blow sums. They're going to sit at their tier 2s, catch waves until this next dragon spawns. The only job they have here is to stop JDG from being able to get this Baron. They can sneak it away with the Phelios Azir incredibly quick, so they need to be on their feet, on their toes. They need to be really quick to react if a Baron start comes through, and I think JDG are no strangers to Baron baits. We saw it in their series against top esports, just dancing around a Baron when they're ahead or when they're behind. It's one of their biggest strengths, I think, when it comes to Baron control and when it comes to teams at Worlds. So we'll see how they do.
Yeah, we saw JDG's macro game improve so much from the regular season all the way to finals in the LPL. And in a game like this, it feels like they'll need it. Even now, looking at items, I'm kind of concerned about the damage if a team fight breaks out. Kaori already on 2 items. You could see Impact and JoJo very close as well, to where Yagao, going with the Crown of the Shattered Queen, there is a lot of burst on the side of EG, so I get it. And Hope still only sitting on that Gale Force.
So difficult to play these fighters out as the Aphelios. All it's going to take is single straight barrel, single straight bar assault, and he's going to have a very, very difficult time. Bars, of course, with the Ginsu's build as well, going to shred through 369 if 369 missed position. So much percentage max health damage, just in base stats from the Varus.
See that gold difference collapse there from the Dragon fight. EG finding the fight to shut JDG down. Now, a little bit of mid-wave contest here. 1 minute 30 seconds on the Dragon is a timer that you want your champions to be out on the map, but they're going to engage.
Engage now coming out, trying to burn down a single target, but here comes the Devour. They're shutting it down. GP all coming in, TP now coming in, inspired on the backside. Kaori still standing strong. They managed to find one, but now it's the resets coming in for the Viego. And this is big, but he's taking the top catch, now getting pushed away by Yagao. Kaori standing strong, Kaori no! Getting knocked down, JDG, the confidence to take the fight. One Devour is not enough. JDG find it.
EG overstep. JoJo Pyun has no flash, and 369 is quick to punish it on the engage. Kaori tried his best in that fight to dish out as much damage as possible, but JDG stands strong, and they're going to get a Baron as a reward.
Exactly. We already hit about the speed of their Baron. Even with only having a couple of members up, Yagao going to be able to absolutely shred this. And honestly, might even be able to finish this in time to get the resets off, with Dragon approaching in 40 seconds.
They're going to have 5 Baron buffs. So let's look at this again. EG trying to contest a mid-wave. 1 minute 30 seconds away from the Dragon. A bit questionable when impacts on your top tier 3. Ult connects. Yes, the ETH comes in, but how can JoJo Pyun reposition? He's stuck. But now keep your eyes on Kaori. He actually plays this fight really well. He actually peels himself solo with no Tahm Kench next to him. Flashes 369's engage, dishes out as much auto attacks as possible despite the Azir ult. But you're just such a numbers disadvantage after the Victor fell and the GP arrives so late that you cannot win this fight.
And massive credit to 369 for finding that ankle, or angle. That's a couple second decision that you can make where the Tahm Kench is away from the carries, where you can actually find that engage and shut down the fight from the side of EG. But now, here it is. This is the 5v5 that could decide the game.
Soul points for EG. Dropping mid-waves. Impact again is split up. They need to wait a little bit longer here. The GP ult's not up, so EG want to stall this JDG looking for a flank. Yagao and Kanavi going around the side. Pink ward is there to spot them out, but not in the tri-bush. Engage comes in, ult misses.
Ult going wide is big. Kanavi off to the side. They need to turn and burn if they want to make this fight. Oh, Yagao going golden, but it might not matter. JDG still standing strong on the front line. Aphelios untouched on the back. They're shredding through EG. Impact hasn't even joined the fight yet. Hope is throwing down so much damage. Yagao as well. Kanavi now looking for the cleanup. It is absolute destruction in EG's side of the map. But now Impact flashing over the wall, trying to take down Missing, trying to get something back in exchange, but it is a long, slow goodbye for the top laner of EG as Kanavi looks for the chase.
Kanavi and Yagao, the best mid-jungle we had in the LPL, challenging the best mid-jungle coming out from the LCS and completely taking over that fight.
It's been back and forth, but the consistent factor, the carry right now for JDG is Kanavi. Yagao went for the huge hero play, a lot of defensive tools to avoid it, but it's Kanavi who stays consistent and dishes out so much damage and gets the resets. Impact was so split. He was on mid lane, clearing out a wave, thinking he could look for a flank. So what JDG do is they just commit 5v4 towards this bot side when Impact has no TP from earlier. This is the flank from Kanavi. Yagao comes in, but it's all reset city.
Yeah, it's so great, especially because EG had already used all of their cooldowns onto the Sejuani. So you can see here, Kanavi just waiting for the angle that goes in. Such a great ult over the wall to make sure he can get on the targets of Evil Geniuses. And it might be a bit of an extended chase, but once he gets that first reset, he's just able to keep going as Yagao cleaning up on the opposite side of the fight.
And that's the thing, this is the struggle of the EG composition. If anyone mispositions people for a brief moment, JDG can pull a trigger. There's no trigger for EG.
Nope.
You come into them, they got a big sword, they'll beat the hell out of you. But if you don't, they're just waiting. They're waiting for you to walk into their open arms.
Now EG's win condition is slowly disappearing. 4 minutes away from the next dragon. They need to hold on up against the Baron buff. JDG, only 20 seconds left on this Baron. Bot tier 2 is going to fall. The Azir tower prevents any kind of flanks or engage. Impact's fighting 369 in mid right now, trying to push him away. 369 trying to look for the kill onto the gangplank. So it's a 4v4. Not much engage for JDG, so EG don't have to be that scared. But Impact could be in trouble. Mid tier 2 is up, so the collapse is faster from EG.
369 has to be careful not to overstay here. Finds the stun, quick ulti just to lock Impact down, walking away, buying as much time as he can. Hope just an usher for a cannon minion, but the Baron buff will fall away. 3 minutes and 40 seconds, so EG get another shot at that soul point. All it could take is a miracle steal from Inspired, but you can see JDG starting to put a death grip of vision around that objective, going to make sure that there's nothing that EG can do.
Yeah, they're doing such a good job trying to find these picks, but EG still doing a pretty nice job of being reserved, but 369 not done with Impact just yet. Doesn't have his ulti up, so I'm not sure if he can find this.
I don't know if either of these guys can kill each other. Oh, with an Ignite he can, though. Burning him down. Impact running. Pirate with gun versus Boar Lady. Oh, Boar Lady takes it. 369. Finding the solo kill.
He's just way too tanky. The Sejuani base damage is too high, and that GP build won't burn through a tank. Impact's not really been able to find the angles that he might wish for. The dragon fight, the initial one where EG got the ace, was good, but ever since then he's not really found his way into these fights. They're just getting a bit caught off guard, overextending, gets collapsed on, even if 369 didn't have the solo kill. The rest of JDG's on the way, but now TP coming in, 5 versus 4 for the next 15 seconds. GP ults up when he respawns, no Baron buff too, so I think they won't lose their inhibitor for this.
I really love the way JDG's playing this though, because 369 having that ulti up now, and like we said, EG, I mean, you have the Tahm Kench and you like when people are running into you, but they have so much burst on the side of JDG. Once Sejuani ultimate under turret, I feel like any member of EG is just gone.
Absolutely. And again, if you have a perfect setup, maybe things could be a little bit easier for EG, but with how much control JDG have over the map, with how proactively they're able to push out these lanes at this stage, it is hard to get that control. It is hard to have a reason for JDG to come into you short of a Baron, short of a Dragon, 1 minute and 2 minutes away from those objectives respectively.
Yeah, 4 or 5 minutes ago this gold was so even, but it's just ballooned so out of control for JDG now ever since the initial fights where they managed to find the kills in mid, then to find the kills in bot side. They've kind of had control throughout the entire game, despite EG getting that ace. They've always had vision control because EG need to play on timers rather than play for skirmishes. You're playing Victor, Varus, GP. You need to find timers around objectives where you can set up rather than look for a little bit of vision and look for picks, whereas the Thresh and Sejuani really excel at that. So now JDG going to get these mid waves in. 40 seconds on the Baron, 1 minute 30 seconds on the Dragon. We might see a dance around objectives where EG keeps threatening a Baron when the Dragon's up, and then vice versa, depending on the positionings on the map. They can always control one quadrant, especially if JDG leads towards his top side. They will get bot side vision but this Baron will go down so quickly.
I will say the one difference in the setup for the fight that's coming up is the last two fights that were in JDG's favor, EG had pretty much no summoners across the board. I don't think Kaori had his flash in either one. JoJo's flash still hasn't come up, and it's about to come up right now, so at least hopefully EG should be able to do a much better job of self-healing for themselves to be able to get through these fights unscathed, even if 369 or Missing do find those picks.
Definitely, and now it looks like JDG are setting up on the bot side of the map. 5 seconds on the Baron though, so this is where the dance could come in. It's very hard to control both quadrants of the river. They have vision in both right now, but EG can brute force with numbers into one when they get information as to where 369 is. That's what they're fishing for. Impact sweeping, they're looking, see if he can find any wards. Hope's gonna push in this mid wave, and this ward in mid gives you information to which side they're leaning to. That's why it's so important. Now they'll see them all lean bot side, so EG can then go into the top side of the map, and they can threaten this Baron. We'll see what kind of engage 369 can find.
EG just laying down a little bit of poke. 369 still with the passive up, however, haven't been able to knock that one away. Lantern being used just to scout for extra vision is hoping Yagao get control of the mid lane. So much pressure for EG. Another mistake in the game will probably fall away from them. Kanavi stepping forward onto Vulcan. Just a bit of poke here. The tower will be set up from the Azir. Dragon spawning in 5 seconds, and you have to feel like JDG are going to be laser focused on that objective. Hope going to be able to solo this one out. EG seeing this as a limited window of opportunity to take the Baron. They've got an on-hit bars. They can shred through it pretty quickly, but you have to know that JDG see this coming.
Collapse coming in, EG forcing it. They could look for the 50-50, but they have to be careful of the teamfight ace. They have to be careful of JDG just taking the fight.
6ix9ine running forward. Ulti now coming out, going to connect on the Vulcan. A bit of extra poke. The hook from Missing, not going to connect. Vulcan flashing out to safety. Such a tense stance. Again, a single mistake could turn this all against EG. 369 stepping forward. EG maybe looking for the pick, looking for the angle. Yagao over the wall. They're split for a brief moment. But meanwhile, Aphelios is in the mid lane. He's got his eyes on the prize. He wants the Nexus, not the Baron.
And this is where the dance will end unless they can find an engage. Vulcan looks for it. No flash, though.
Vulcan fishing. Yagao still untouched for now. The Crown of the Shattered Queen disabled by the GP ult. 369 coming over the wall. Vulcan getting shredded, and now the resets can start to come through from Kanavi, but they're trying to get the kill. 369 taken down. Yagao goes under the ult. Completely whiffs. Kaori untouched on the backside. TP now coming in. EG maybe, just maybe can get the fight, but Kanavi. It's a 200 years moment. That ult from Aphelios was everything.
Hope has arrived, and he just demolished the carries of Evil Geniuses. It looked good initially when 369 fell, and both the carries flash Yagao's engage, but Hope shows up.
Hope, first time on the international stage, able to make such an impact. JDG overall, huge team fight.
Massive for the side of JDG that continued to find windows, engage after engage, even in the face of the Tahm Kench. EG were close in the early to mid game, but mid to late, JDG taking over, taking their first win on the world stage.
And once they get an inch, they'll take a mile, just running away with it. That team fight, the last one there, if gold was a little bit even, I think EG could have fought back, but Kanavi just so far ahead, just melted through Inspire, got the reset over the wall.